doctor, lawyer, chef. And I'm like, see, like it's on the list. I get a dishwashing job at 14, and this is it.
It's time for the Savour First Podcast with Southwest Florida's favorite chef, Matt Geiger. Hi, Charlie McDermott here, the producer and the co-host, at least for this episode anyway. But the most important part of all this is I have Matt Geiger here. Matt, if you don't already know him, you soon will. Savour First Choice Catering, his company. And let me start with Matt congratulating you, or maybe Chef Matt, not maybe, definitely. Congratulations, man, this is awesome. You've got so much going on, and we'll get into that a little bit. I don't want to, reveal everything here in the intro, but a lot going on. But you carved out time. My goodness, we're meeting early on a Monday morning. You must be exhausted from the weekend and everything you have going on. Congratulations. Welcome to your show. And let's start, Matt, with the background. I know you've got raving fans who already know all about you, but we also have listeners who don't. So let's start there. Give the listeners an idea of what you're all about. Fill us in on Savour First Choice Catering.
Well, thank you so much for doing this for me. It's something I've always wanted to do, and to get the ball rolling is good. So having some learning curves along the way, it's nice to have somebody who kind of knows the ropes that can help me through this first process. So thank you for that. As far as our company, if I just start with my company, Savour First Choice Catering, we do all sorts of catering events. So we do weddings, cocktail parties, hors d'oeuvre parties, fundraisers, pretty much anywhere where you would need, food or service or beer and wine or liquor or bartenders or anything like that. We try to be pretty full service when it comes to that. We've been in the area for 3 years. I've been in the area for about 10 years, working for some restaurants here and there, some catering companies. And then when I opened this, I really thought that I could bring something else to the catering world that I didn't really see in other places. Not that other people weren't doing it, but just I felt like I could do it a little better. So that's what we did.
That is the magic formula for a hugely successful business, right? And that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. We see something and we just tweak it a little bit. What do they say? The experts say a 10% improvement. You see something a little differently than someone else, and not to say that other company is doing a bad job, but it's that we continue to up our game, and that's what makes, I think, our country such an awesome country. Yeah,
absolutely. So a little bit about me and my personal life. I didn't grow up in Florida. I grew up in North Idaho. We're 40 miles from Canada. It's freezing cold in the winters. And for whatever reason, I fell in love with cooking. And I've been doing it since I was 14 years old. I got, a dishwashing job in a restaurant, and, a bunch of people quit, and I kind of became their salad person overnight. And that was it. I was in an Italian restaurant doing this bunch of stuff, and that I fell in love with that right away. So after I started cooking up there for a little bit, I moved to Spokane, Washington after high school. And a little bit about Spokane is I worked for a couple, Latin restaurants, sushi restaurants. I tossed pizza there for a little while. It's a pretty good hub for all sorts of different cuisines. A little bit bigger of a town than what I grew up in, of 7,000 people. Now I'm in a city that has 300,000 or 400,000. There's a lot more going on. I did that for a couple years, and I decided I wanted to change of scenery. So when I got my uncle and grandparents living down here, I was like, okay, I'll go down to Florida, see what's happening, see if there's any other opportunities, get out of the bitter cold, and see what's going on. Once I got down here, I picked up a couple odds and end jobs for the first few months until I landed at a sushi restaurant. I was at the sushi restaurant, I was their kitchen chef, and I wanted to take on new skills in that, so I really bothered them for a year and a half to teach me and let me come on the front and do sushi. And it was like, no. And then there's a perfect opportunity. I'm like, you kind of need someone. And I've been working my butt off, and I've been doing all your guys' extra prep on top of my prep. And, I've been really doing this. Like, what's the deal here? And then they let me in. And so I did
Wow.
that for 4 years. And when I first got here, and it was a great opportunity. It was really cool skills to learn, and it was like starting over. It was like I hadn't been cooking
Yeah.
for 6 or 7 years because everything's different. How they cut things are different. How they maintain things are different. It's just a different world. So
So,
yeah,
I mean, my goodness, you talk about an impressive skill set. You didn't just wake up one day and decide to jump into catering, and
no, no,
and
no. It was many years
it's
coming.
like yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and what always has impressed me to any event I go
Mhm.
to is the volume,
Mhm.
and in your case, I mean, I've gotten a feel for the quality.
Right.
I mean,
Good. Good.
how do you guys do that? I mean, and what was your first event like?
Ever?
Were you nervous? I mean, how did that go?
Well, when I was working for the catering company, I didn't know what I was getting into. I saw a job posting
Yeah,
for a sous chef position, and I thought I was going to go there and be the sous chef of like a kitchen. But there's many sous chefs, and they go out and they do events, and I had no idea what I was getting into. And my first catered event wasn't a high end dinner. It wasn't a wedding. It wasn't anything like that. It was a feeding frenzy free for all in downtown Naples with 400 people, and I cranked out 10 or 11 different hors d'oeuvres. But you times that by 400 or 500,
400.
right? That's 5,000 pieces of food that's going out in about an hour and a half. And it was work. I was sweating and I didn't know what I was getting into. And I just kept the food going out. And then all of a sudden it was over. And I was like, okay, I can do this. This is different. I'm not doing
Yeah,
ticket orders. I'm not having a ticket printer spitting out dinners at me. This is like I know what I'm getting into. I have my stuff ready to go. It's showtime, and
yeah.
that's it. And
I
that
love
was
it.
my first catering ever. And then they started working me into the private dinners and how to be in someone's house and big weddings and all the steps it takes every single wedding from start
Yeah,
to finish. It's definitely something that you
yeah.
have to do over and over again to get a really solid base down and to get a really solid plan down. You know,
And every event is
every
unique.
event
I
is
mean,
unique.
it's very customized, right?
Yep. I
Yeah,
mean, the
yeah,
order of events at every wedding is damn near the same every single time. But it's
yeah,
different
yeah.
people, different places, different kitchen. You could be outside at one wedding on the beach, or you could be in some nice air conditioned, venue, somewhere else. It's just not. You have to be able
Right.
to adapt, and especially in this
Yeah,
business,
yeah,
there's so many moving parts. There's so many moving parts when it comes to rentals and the office work and doing the proposals, and it's not just making food and taking it. There's a million steps in there, and you're gonna forget something,
yep,
you know. So you just got to
yep.
be able to
Boy,
adapt. Yeah, it's exciting.
and the beauty of having your team, because like you said, it's all about reps and
Hmm.
and getting it to the point where you can do it in your sleep and you
Right,
don't miss those pieces.
right.
I again can't imagine trying to pull that off on your own.
Yeah, no
Now you
way.
mentioned yeah, a number of times a sous chef, and that brings back memories. We had a restaurant in my health club,
Hmm.
and I hired this great chef, and I thought, we're all set. And he says, "Okay, Charlie, now we need a sous chef."
Right.
And I thought, well, what is that? What do you mean? What do you
so
fill our listeners in who aren't familiar
so
with what a
as
sous chef
far
is?
as like positioning sous chef, those all stem back to what's called like a French brigade style kitchen, where
Mm,
everybody has a certain role, and that's the role that they do. So as far as if you're going top to bottom, your executive chef, he's the one that's, making the menus, having the ideas, doing the executive stuff, making sure the orders are get done, doing all the numbers, costing, and all that stuff. More of an admin role in a lot of places, although most places are looking for a working chef. I call it a clipboard chef. If you're not, you're just walking around seeing what everybody else is doing.
uh,
As far as the sous chef goes, in my opinion, and I might be wrong and I might be called out for this, but I've been doing this for 17 years, 18 years. Sous chef positions a pretty tough position because they're the one doing the legwork. They're the one in the kitchen sweating. They're the ones next to the cooks doing everything, making sure what the executive chef's head thinks is actually getting brought to life. So they're the ones that pretty much take all those stuff from the head chef and take all the stuff from the cooks, and they're the middle person liaison between the two. You know,
Yep.
from there down, you're looking at sauciers and all that. All that stuff doesn't really happen that much in kitchens that much. Generally, you have, executive chef, sous chef, and then everybody else kind of fills a station. You know, so
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I
Everybody
could go
has a
into a
role,
lot more
right?
detail about it. I don't want to bore everybody, but it's like, obviously a saucier makes sausage. A pantry chef does all like the prep salads, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how the
Yeah.
hierarchy works in a French brigade style kitchen.
Yeah.
You know,
And then I would imagine the ability to cross train your team so that if something
Absolutely.
happens on the way to an event,
Of course.
you've got
And-
you don't have a big gaping hole there.
and that's the doing reps part. I can teach someone how to do
Yeah.
one job over and over again, but until they're next to somebody else doing a different job, they don't get those reps in doing that. So it's all about like repetitive teamwork, all that stuff.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: I know, just talking with you over the last few months, you've been thinking about a podcast now for quite some time. Let's get into the why. What's your vision?
Mhm.
Why are you doing the podcast?
Well, I've had a million ideas of what to do on the podcast, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I listen to food podcasts and journalist podcasts, and I don't really get into the short stories and all that stuff, but I listen to a lot, and some of them are really good, and a lot of them want to make me snore, and I feel like there's a void here in the podcast world where we can talk about food and even do some video stuff that is like exciting and not going to bore you. So where I've kind of landed is I have a lot of ideas. I don't know exactly which avenue it's going to go, but the whole philosophy I feel like is I want to bridge the gap from the common customer to the food and beverage worker. And that could be talking to local foodies or just talking to anybody about their experiences in restaurants or local chefs in the area. I want to do some like cooking side by sides with some of my chef friends. It'd be really cool to bring them on, and we're mic'd up and we're making the same thing and tasting each other's dishes. And there's a lot of fun things that could happen, but I also want to hear people's like negative thoughts and stigmas. There's this big battle that's been going on since the first kitchen ever between front of the house and back of the house, and we're let's try to bridge the gap. What are the biggest concerns and what are the biggest things that piss you off about each side, and let's figure it out. Let's get a bunch of people's opinions on it, and let's see if we can find some common ground, because in my kitchens and restaurants, I've worked in some that are like, don't trust the servers. Don't do anything they say. If they ask you for something, don't do it. And it's in my head, I'm like, but it's not you or me we're even doing this for. There's a person out there that needs this, and we got to come together to figure out how to get that to the table so they're not pissed off. Right? So it has nothing to do with front of the house or back of the house or anything. So I feel like bringing all this stuff together into a podcast where I can kind of just talk to people and see, what's the worst experience you had? Okay, why? Why was it the worst experience you had? And was there other bad experiences that made that one the worst one? And let's see if we can try to fix it and make people know what it is to do. Because there's no cookie cutter way to do anything, really. So I just think that if we can find some common ground between the customer and the common people and front of the house, back of the house, and all that, and kind of bring everything together, we can have a lot of fun and not be so angry all the time, and I have my moments. I've been online just pissed off because stuff doesn't go right. But at the end of the night, you got to bring it all back together and say, we did it. It's done. Let's recollect ourselves, clean up. Let's go have a beer. And it is what it is. We'll go to tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's not worry about all the stuff today. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Same here, and because I had minimal experience, thank God I was never back of the house or front of the house with our restaurant. But talk about thinking on your feet. Stuff happens, whether it be whatever. I know in our case we had to make some quick supermarket runs,
and it is what it is,
because oh my goodness, everyone's ordering the same thing today.
and either you 86
didn't see that coming.
A lot of restaurants just 86 it and get rid of it. That's okay, I guess, but the whole point is to not, right? It's to give the best possible experience, even if it's hamburgers and hot dogs. It's to give the best possible experience so you can keep doing business. People don't come back for mediocrity. They don't come back because, that place, it was okay. It's like, no, that was the best damn hot dog I had, or that was the best filet mignon I had. It just shouldn't matter. You know what I mean? And if the product isn't that great, meet them with good service. Figure it out, And I really want to talk to some other professionals in the area. Obviously, locally first. If I can get some people, maybe we do what we're doing right now with some chefs, that'd be great. That'd be really awesome.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's other things that people like doing in recipe building and going, I think that would be fun too. Let's bring my mom on and make, something that she made for me growing up. That'd be great. And I think people would get a kick out of it, So I'm really excited to get this thing going, and, hopefully I can get it down.
Absolutely. We'll make sure of that. So, well, hey, once again, congrats. Episode number 1 is in the can. Perfect. And we will see you in episode number 2.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Savour Food Podcast. We really enjoyed talking to all of you. Have a great day and go kill it.